Tonight is, thank you, Zoom lady. My focus tonight is on sharing with you some ideas around how you can see your mental health in your body and how you can use your body to impact your mental health, because it goes both directions. And I will give you a little bit more information about myself and how I got to be here with you all tonight. I am the founder and executive director of Hip Circle Empowerment Center, and we are a space that is all about body and being in our bodies. And through the work that I've done, I've been teaching and moving with women for almost 20 years, which I didn't realize until I did the math for this presentation. So that was exciting. And over that time, I have gotten to see women come into themselves. And I have begun to really focus on, well, what is it? What is it that they're doing in their body and that is making a difference in how they feel and move into the world? And that work was all started before I found yoga. But in between there, I also am someone who lives with anxiety and depression. And I forget now who said that they have a toolbox, right? That they have tools that they use for maintaining themselves and their mental health. I was always on the lookout for more tools. And yoga was something that I found that had a profound impact for me on both my anxiety and my depression. It's not my only tool. I too take medication for depression. I chose not to medicate for anxiety, and we can talk about that later if you're so interested. But I use a lot of my tools to manage anxiety, and that comes from what I see in my body and what I see in my mind. So the first thing that we are going to dig into is what we notice in our body. And I am curious, and you can do the reactions in Zoom and to give me a show of hands so you don't have to unmute and talk necessarily. But I would be interested to see how many of you notice a difference in your body when you're experiencing different things that are more mental health related. So do you notice in your body your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, right? We've got a few participants raising their hand, and probably, I'm gonna guess, if you notice the things in a specific spot, like is there a place, and you can use the, let's see, which reaction do I wanna see for this? Use the thumbs up reaction if you can see grief in one place in your body and stress in another place in your body, or you can see depression in one way in your body and anxiety in another, right? So our body is giving us information. Thank you for the thumbs ups. Our body, I do this and I'm interacting, so I'm working to make that adjustment so that you all can stay muted and not become video stars. So if we are paying attention to our body, then we can see the impact of what's going on in our mind. And we are all right now living through this pandemic, for example. And that is an incredibly stressful event. And my guess is that many of you would relate to the experience of spending a lot of time like this, curled forward, hunched over, protecting the middle of you, right? And we think about that as, it's because I'm spending all my time on my couch, and that's why I'm rounded that way. But it's not. It's that you are doing your best to protect yourself. Your body is under a lot of stress, and when we are under stress, we immediately protect our vital organs, the things that keep us going, right? And so that's where that collapsing in on ourselves can come from, right? When you are feeling really connected to people, really, really strong and stable, we don't spend a lot of time curled up, right? That feeling, that mental health, that experience leaves us upright and lifted and open and ready to receive because we feel safe. We don't have to protect anything, right? So your body has been giving you signals, whether you have been paying attention to them or not. And sometimes they're little signals like that, right? Like our posture or how we are sitting or being. Sometimes the signals are a little bit more intense, and you might, when you are feeling stress or worry, end up with stomach issues, right? We can do a thumbs up for that too, where you're pressing forward, you've got a big meeting coming up, or you've got some really stressful event in your future, like a finite event, so not pandemic, that's just sort of going to be there for a while, but like a one-off thing, and you feel it in your stomach, your digestion changes, right? Or you are doing a presentation and you're nervous, right? Our body responds to that. We sweat more, we have tremors, right? All of that is your body showing you the connection between your brain and your meat suit, the container that you're walking around in. Aches and pains also. I'm sure several of you had the fun experience of, you work out, you do all this really intense stuff, and then you go home and you open the refrigerator and you throw out your shoulder. And you're like, but I just opened the refrigerator. I wasn't doing anything. I was fine when I was doing the hard stuff, but your body is protective. And then when you're in a safe space, it's not as on guard. And so that's when you can end up with injuries. Or you might feel pain in your low back. That might be posture related, but it might also be that that's where you carry fear, or that's where you carry some other emotion. I would like to see the wave if you carry stress in your shoulders, for example. You get under a lot of stress and your shoulders creep up here, or you feel really tight, or if you've ever had the pleasure of going and getting a massage, that's where all of the work has to be done to get you to undo. Okay? Our body is holding on to that. Now we can also, not tonight, we don't have time to go deep into this, but our bodies hold a lot. So we hold trauma in our bodies. We hold our past experiences physically in our bodies. And we'll have to come back and do a whole other session on that if we want to dig into that. But because we know that we're seeing our feelings and we're seeing how we are in our body, it makes sense that we could use our body to change how we are, or to change how we're feeling. And that's what I want to spend most of our time on tonight, is using the body to impact your mental health. What we're going to do can be done in a chair. You can do it sitting up in a chair. I have a mat set up behind me, and if you have a mat set up at home and you want to move down onto the mat, you can be down there too. Either way works, and I'll demonstrate things in both ways. The first thing that we're going to do, I would recommend, if you're in a chair, you make it so you can put your feet on the floor. So both feet flat on the floor. And if you're in a chair where the floor is too far away, get something, like I have blocks, to lift the floor up higher to you. What I don't want is legs dangling. So if you're on like a stool and you're not making contact with something, it won't feel as good as if you are. If you are on a mat, then what I would want is for you to be seated in such a way that your hips are higher than your knees. So I'm on a bolster. My hips are lifted up on a bolster. so that the hip to knee goes down. You could be one leg in front of the other like this. You could be crisscross applesauce if that feels more comfortable. You can have the soles of your feet together. In any of these positions, the thing that is the same is that both of your sit bones are on the surface, whatever you're sitting on. And whether you're sitting in a chair or sitting on the floor, I want you to make it so that your spine is as long as it can be. So instead of being slumped over like this, one of my favorite yoga teachers calls this shlumpasana and says that we don't need any more practice with that. So we want to be lifted up, sitting up nice and long. I don't say with your back straight because there are natural curves in your spine that we want to have present, but I do want you to think about lifting up and out of the container that is your pelvis. So choose your own adventure in terms of how you're sitting, on the floor or in a chair, whichever works better for you. And again, if you're sitting in a chair, both feet are flat on the ground. And if you have, this is a bonus, but if you have something that you can write with and something you can write on, have that handy. If not, you can just think about the question that I asked. So we've got ourselves seated, we've got our spine long, our feet are connected to the earth, or our sit bones are connected to the earth, whichever is right for you in your position. And I want you to take just a moment, I'm gonna put a timer on for myself, to think about how you feel right now. That's it. You can think about how you physically feel. You can think about emotionally how you feel. Whatever you want to focus on or whatever you notice, give that some thought. And you might want to let your eyes close or just look away from the camera to give yourself a break. Just how do you feel right now? And now, what I would like you to do, so if you were writing, let your writing tool drop. I would like you to let your eyes close or go unfocused, so whichever feels more comfortable, and start to pay attention to your breath. You don't have to change it, you're just paying attention to it, noticing the qualities of it. So noticing the tempo, noticing the depth, noticing the texture, noticing where you feel it, noticing the temperature of your breath. And now start to make your breath even. So your inhale and your exhale match. So if you breathe in to a count of 4, let's say, breathe out to a count of 4. And direct all of the breathing through your nose, if that's available to you. And now start to slow your breathing down. So if you had been breathing in and out for 4 each, maybe now you breathe in and out for 6. Notice if any of the qualities of your breath change now that you're breathing slower. It might not. It might stay the same. Now, relinquish control of your breath. So let it go back to its default. Whatever pace that is, no control. Just let yourself go back to normal. And if you were writing at the beginning, write again now. If you were just thinking in the beginning, think again now. How do you feel? Do you feel exactly the same? Is anything different? We're not judging a difference or a lack of difference. We're just noticing it. So again, using your reactions, if you feel the same or felt the same at the beginning and the end of that exercise, so nothing changed for you, do the waving hand. And if something changed for you from the first time of thinking to the second, do a heart. I'm seeing mostly hearts. I'm hoping that if I look at the participant list, I can see what we've all reacted. Yeah. So a little both. We had hearts, we had waves, right? Your breath, how you are breathing, just by thinking about it, you don't actually even have to change it. Just by thinking about how am I breathing right now, that has the potential to impact your nervous system in a positive way. And then once you actively control it by slowing it down or by speeding it up, you can go in both directions. You have more opportunity to control your nervous system. And a lot of stress, anxiety, more so than depression necessarily, but that's in there too, we can impact just with that. You don't have to stand up. You don't have to go anywhere. You just have to think about your breath and then maybe slow it down if you need to down-regulate. You've probably all heard about fight or flight, right? That we have these two options when something stressful occurs. We can fight it or we can flee. We also have freeze, right? And so those are all responses, nervous system responses, and your body is wired to protect you from things like wild animals, right? Which we don't run into very often, thankfully, here in town or today at all. But your body doesn't know that, and so just controlling your breath is an opportunity to tell your body, there's no tiger here right now. We're okay. We're okay. And that might be that you are in, again, a stressful moment and you're having an anxious response to something finite, like a conversation that's activating you or a situation that you're witnessing that's activating you. So in the moment, just tapping into your breath might be enough to give your body the signal that there is not actually a tiger here right now. We're okay. Now, is changing your breathing going to magically alleviate all symptoms and signs of anxiety and depression and any number of other mental health issues? No. But it's a tool that you can use and that you always have with you. You always have your breath. It is always, always available. We can do a little bit more work just with breathing. So hopefully you're still in your grounded position. And we can drop in a little bit faster. So start again to notice your breath. And start to make it match. So your inhale and your exhale are the same length. So again, we're breathing in for 4 and breathing out. But now, I want you to make the breathing out a little bit longer than the inhale. So if you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, you're going to breathe out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then in 2, 3, 4, and out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So keep going, and your numbers might be different. Maybe it's 3 and 5, or 2 and 4. But have your exhale be a little bit longer. And it's the same breath. So if you breathed in this much, you're going to breathe out the same amount. It's just that you're going slower, letting go of the breath. You're not letting it all escape at once. And if we do this extended exhale, we are bolstering our nervous system's response and helping it know that not only is there no tiger here right now, but there's no tiger. I'm in a safe space. I am okay longer term. So these breathing exercises are things you can do in the moment. They're things you could do every day, almost like calisthenics for your nervous system, right? And they're always available. And they are there with you when you're having aches and pains. They are there with you when you're in a confined space. They are there all the time. You always have your breath. It's the one guarantee. What I would like to move to next is using your body. So one of the introductions at the beginning talked about not being fully in touch with our bodies, and that is so common. Our society has us all up in our heads. Everything's in our heads. We've just spent this whole time on Zoom where a lot of times the head is the only part of a body that you see, right? Now that we're going out into the world and seeing people in 3D, it's like, oh, right, you have a torso and you have legs, like you have height. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but I met someone in life that I had only met on Zoom, and I had no idea that they were significantly taller than me. And because we always were like this, so there's no height. But now there is in person. Anyway, our bodies, we are able to, in our current society, detach from them and hang out all up here. And when we do that, we're left with only what's up here, right? And so when we talk about mental health, right, we're thinking about what's happening in our mind. And so we're still way up here. Just starting to get aware of your whole body and remembering that you have toes and feet and you go all the way out to your fingertips and everything in between, just that can have an impact, a positive impact on your mental health, but also when we move it. When we move our body, we are giving our whole system an opportunity for a different experience. We're changing our breath. So when you move your body, your breath moves through you differently. Right? And we talked about we always have our breath, but now we've got it more in more places. And we can quiet things down or build things up. So if you are living with anxiety, like I do, I tend to need to quiet things down. When I am struggling with depression, I need to lift things up, make things go in the other direction. And I don't mean like someone tell me to be happy. I don't mean that kind of go in the other direction. I mean physically with my body, I need to think about moving up and out versus moving in and down, right? You might need to move more out versus in, or the other way around. You might need to pull things in to feel more grounded and more stable rather than being pulled out to the edges, right? So whatever you're feeling, we can mirror that with our body and use our body to find our way to a balanced place. We always want to be balanced, right? That's always the goal. So we are going to do a sequence again of a little bit of an exercise, and I don't mean exercise like calisthenics. We're going to do a movement exercise. Again, I want you to be aware of how you feel right now, and then I'll check in with how you feel on the other side. Again, we can do this sitting or we can do this standing. Either way, I'm going to go through it twice. So I'll go through it one time, sitting the whole time, and then I'll go through it another time, starting with standing. And I want you to do whatever feels right to you to join me tonight, taking care of your body, because only you know what that needs, what your body needs from you. We have a saying here at Hip Circle that you are the mistress of your own mat, meaning what you do on your mat is entirely up to you, and it doesn't matter what someone's doing on a mat next to you. And in this setting, you don't even see anybody else, so you don't have to worry about what anybody else is doing. You don't even have the tools to worry about it. So if we are sitting, come to the edge of your chair, and again, feet are attached or grounded to the earth. I'm going to move my chair back a little bit so that you can see me more clearly, more fully. So sitting forward on the edge of your chair and sitting up nice and long. And becoming very aware of your toes and your feet. And feeling the floor underneath you. Now, if you're wearing shoes, it's going to be a little bit of a different experience than if you're barefoot. I encourage barefoot if your feet will let you, if you're not dealing with plantar fasciitis or anything like that. As much time as you can spend barefoot, the more in your body you'll be able to be, because you'll get more signals coming in. But for right now, just be very aware of your feet. And are they completely touching the floor? Are your arches off the floor? Are you rolling in or out? Are your toes connected? Or are they kind of floating in space? Just notice what's happening with your feet. And then start to become aware of your legs and how they feel connecting to your feet and then connecting into you, underneath you, the chair underneath you, but also how they feel connecting into your pelvis. And then for right now, we're going to stop there and think about our spine being long. And we're going to start to use our arms. So we're going to inhale and bring your arms up and overhead. And exhale, send them down. So I want you to take up as much space as you can. So inhale your arms as far out to the sides as you can and up. And exhale, reach all the way out and down. And see what has to happen in your body to make it possible for you to do this, right? Your core, the abdominal muscles have to activate so you stay upright in the chair. The muscles along your back have to activate to help you get your arms up overhead. All the muscles in your arms are active because we are extending our fingers and reaching as far as we can. And we still have those feet that are attached to the earth. So we're going to add a twist in. So we're going to inhale everything up. And on the exhale, twist and bring one shoulder forward and the other shoulder back. You can put your front arm on the outside of your leg and lift up nice and tall. And I want you to notice what has to happen to keep your leg from collapsing, right? We're pushing against our leg with our hand, but we're also pushing against our hand with our leg. Now we'll inhale everything up. And we'll go to the other side on the exhale. And take a moment to notice if it feels the same or different on this side. There's no right or wrong, we just want to be aware of it. And then we'll inhale everything up. And on the exhale, we'll fold forward. So I want you to lay your torso down on your thighs and let your arms dangle. You can also let your head dangle. I'm going to keep mine up so that I can talk to you, and because I've been living with vertigo the last couple of weeks. Fun times. And then bring your hands to your thighs, lift your chest up halfway, and fold back down. And bring your hands to your thighs and lift your chest up halfway, or all the way, rather. And come back to sitting. And now notice your feet again. Notice your legs. This time notice your torso, your back, your arms. And see if you feel any different. If anything has changed. It might not have. There's no test. Just do a scan. And then also scan for how you feel. Right? How is your mood, your feelings? Ooh, that was interesting. A little power surge. Check in and see how you feel physically and how you feel. And when we get to Q&A, if you have anything that you noticed or that you want to share, I would love to hear it. We're going to hold on to that for a moment, because I have more things that I want to talk to you about. With moving your body, oftentimes what that does is it changes your mood, it changes your physical sensations, and you are simply more connected to your body, more in your body, like one person mentioned before. So we talked about breath, we talked about your body. I do want to give some time to your mind, right? Because mental health is hanging out up here. And what we do with our mind and our body is important. And we started tonight with breath, we went into movement. If I were to right now drop you into a meditation, you would be in a better position to settle and to sit with that meditation than you would have been if we started with meditation at the beginning. I'm aware of the time, so we're not going to actually meditate right now, because that takes some time to get into the right mindset and the right body place. But the journaling, or even just the thinking that you did, if you didn't write things down, is serving part of that same purpose, right? We want to become conscious observers of ourselves in order to notice when something's starting to go one direction or another, instead of staying in this awesome balance place. The only way we will be able to notice those things is if we have a practice of asking our brain to notice our body, or asking our body to notice our brain. We all, we know the senses, you got sight and smell and sound, all of those things, but we also have a sense called proprioception, which is understanding where you are in the world, like that I'm sitting on this chair and that there's nothing here for me to touch, that my arms are out, what have you, that I'm standing up straight or sitting up straight. And then we have interoception, which is my favorite new thing, or not in sync, but my favorite thing to talk about, and that is how you feel, like how you know that you're hungry, how you know that you sprained your ankle, right? How do you feel? That is something that we can heighten our awareness of if we do practices like meditation, in addition to quieting our mind, right? And we also have the ability to pause, whether that is through formal meditation or just taking a simple breath before reacting. That moment, that pause, that wait, and it might be that it's, wait, I'm not gonna answer that text right now. I'm gonna put the phone over here and take a minute and then go answer it. It might be, wait, I need to fold forward for a second and then come back up and then I can do whatever it is that you need from me or want from me. It might be, no, I'm gonna wait until maybe tomorrow. Maybe we can slow everything down, wait till tomorrow. Wait for my body to have a chance to process what just happened, and then I will give you my reaction. So we have the power of noticing, of pausing, of thinking about what our body is experiencing, thinking about what our brain is experiencing. And if we take advantage of that, then we have more information about ourselves with which to move forward. So that's all great. Okay? We've got our body, we've got our breath, we've got our mind, but what do we do? Well, we talked a little bit about the breath being something that you can use in the moment, about tapping into your body and feeling where you're feeling whatever you're feeling. Take that moment to notice. But also, if we get into a regular habit of moving our body, moving our breath, and checking in our mind, we can become fitter at existing. So you're not going to exercise your way out of a mental health crisis or a mental health diagnosis. It's very popular in the memes, right? Or in the little internet pictures of like, oh, you don't need those meds, just go for a run. And I love running, and I still take my meds, right? But a daily practice where you put yourself into your body, where you get into your own skin. Hopefully we have power all the way until this is done. A daily practice of moving your body and using your breath can make it more likely that you will be able to notice that shift in balance and notice the signals that your body is giving you. I have different things I do in the morning versus in the afternoon versus at night. You might want to pick only one thing that you do one time a day. So many choices. And I have things that I do that are preventative, or I think of it as just like maintenance. And then I have things that I do in the moment. And I would love to know if you all have any questions for me. And maybe we can stop or pause the recording in case we want to come back and do a wrap up